Some useful idiots or outright Russian puppets say that religion is persecuted in Ukraine. By saying religion, they mean Russian Orthodox Church, equating it with the religion in general, and therefore showing their dishonesty. Let's have a look how Russian Orthodox Church views Russo-Ukrainian war, and then we decide if we should tolerate such an organization in Ukraine. Russian Orthodox Church this week held so-called World Russian People's Council and produced a document that reflects the current views of Russian Orthodox Church on Russo-Ukrainian war. This document is published at the official website of the Russian Orthodox Church. I will put a link in the description so that you can have a look at it yourself. And Patriarch Kirill was chairman of this council. So this resulting document is as official as it gets. So let's have a look at it. Okay, they start from defining the meaning of special military operation. Special military operation, first point, and you see they still don't call it war. The special military operation is a new stage of national liberation struggle of the Russian people against the criminal Kiev regime and the collective West standing behind it, conducted in the lands of southwestern Rus since 2014. So in the very first sentence, they denied the existence of Ukraine and the existence of Ukrainian people. There is no Ukraine, there is so-called southwestern Rus. There are no Ukrainians, there are only some mystical Russians there. Ukrainians don't exist. Russian aggression is called the national liberation struggle of Russian people. And they continue in the next sentence that during the special military operation, the Russian people with weapons in hand defend their lives, freedom, statehood, civilization, religious, national and cultural identity, as well as the right to live on their own land within the borders of a unified Russian state. Again, they present military invasion into peaceful neighboring country as some kind of popular uprising of Russian people, and again, no Ukrainians there, who are somehow defending themselves, and annexation of Ukrainian territories they present as the right of Russians to live in the unified Russian state. Then they continue. From a spiritual and moral point of view, the special military operation is a holy war in which Russia and its people defending the unified spiritual space of Holy Rus fulfill the mission of being the defender, protecting the world from the onslaught of globalization and the victory of the Western world falling into Satanism. So this is rich. Outright aggression into neighboring country, they proclaim a holy war against the West that has fallen into Satanism. And they, you see, not aggressors. They defenders of everything good against everything evil. So let's continue. After the completion of special military operations, the entire territory of modern Ukraine should enter the zone of exclusive influence of Russia. The possibility of the existence of a Russophobic, hostile to Russia and its people political regime on this territory, as well as a political regime controlled by an external center hostile to Russia, should be completely excluded. So here they laid out a plan to completely destroy and subjugate Ukraine and to genocide Ukrainians. They are frank about the real goals of this war, and do you really think that we can somehow enter into negotiations with such people and expect that they will honor any agreement they will sign? And the terms they are using in this sentence, Russophobic, hostile to Russia, controlled by external center hostile to Russia, they are very vague and allow Russians to define anyone as such. Today they are using it against Ukraine, but tomorrow they can use it against the Baltic states, Poland, Moldova, Finland, anyone they would like to demonize and try to invade. So here they, in this first special military operation, they say about the current events and what they plan for Ukraine, but what they have in store for the rest of the world. Let's go to the second point. Russian world. Okay, Russia is the creator, support and defender of the Russian world. The boundaries of Russian world as a spiritual and cultural civilization phenomenon are significantly wider than the state borders of both the present Russian Federation and the great historical Russia. So you see, the Russia has no borders. Russian world, Pax Russica, alongside scattered representatives of the Russian oikumene around the world, the Russian world includes everyone to whom the Russian traditions, the sanctuaries of Russian civilization, and the great Russian culture are the highest value and meaning of life. So, any place where any Russian set foot, or any place where non-Russians listen Russian classical music, watch Russian ballet, or read Russian literature, is a legitimate target of the future Russian aggression. So you see, Russian culture is not outside of politics. It is a part and parcel of Russian state. It is mere sheep's clothes that cover the vile creature inside. And then the next sentences are very rich. The construction of millennium-long Russian statehood is the highest form of political creativity of Russians as a nation. Here they reveal the real idol, the real god they worship, Russian state. Russian church is not church at all. It is ministry of religion, a part of Russian government, or you can call it a ministry of propaganda and indoctrination. And it is disguised as a religious organization and using religious rhetorics to further aims of Russian government. And it should be considered as such, a part of Russian government. It is not a church at all. And then this nonsensical talk about millennium-long Russian statehood, it is historical appropriation. Their statehood starts from Moscow Principality, which was founded by Mongols. Their claim for Kievan Rus heritage and Kiev is as valid as, for example, if British people tried to claim that Rome was their first capital. And if British counted their history from the time of founding of Rome, because they were once a Roman provinces, and if British considered that Italians not existent and part of one big British nation, then let's continue. The division and weakening of Russian people, depriving them of their spiritual and vital forces, has always led to weakening and crisis of the Russian state. So again, Russian state is their god, and everything is assessed from that point of view. Is it good? Is it transcends? Is it makes Russian state greater or not? Therefore, the restoration of the unity of the Russian people, as well as their spiritual and vital potential, are key conditions for the survival and a successful development of Russia and the Russian world in the 21st century. So, what are they talking about? What is this division of Russian people, and what does it mean, restoration of the unity of the Russian people? They are happy to explain this in the next paragraph of this document, so that we do not have any doubt. Here it is, in the paragraph about foreign policy. A reunification of the Russian people should become one of the priority tasks of Russian foreign policy. Russia should return to the doctrine of triunity of Russian people existing more than 3 centuries, according to which the Russian people consist of Great Russians, Little Russians, and Belarusians, who are branches, sub-ethnicities of one people, and the concept of Russian encompasses all Eastern Slavs, descendants of historical Rus. So, you see, there are no Ukrainians or Belarusians, there are only Russians. But some Russians are better than others, and they are proper Russians, great Russians. But there are also these under-Russians, Untermenschen, little Russians. They deny the existence of my people. They deny that Ukrainians have a distinct, different language, different culture, and different history. It is a call for genocide. And then they continue. In addition to recognition and development in domestic science, the doctrine of triunity should receive legislative consolidation, becoming an integral part of the Russian legal system. What they mean is that any deviation from this view should be criminalized. If you say that Ukraine or Ukrainians exist, they should be able to put you in jail for denying this bogus three-unity doctrine. So, we have an organization that wholeheartedly supports Russian invasion, invents justifications for it, denies the existence of Ukraine and Ukrainian people, and outright calls for genocide of Ukrainians. The question is, should we, Ukrainians, tolerate the existence of such organization in our country, or any branch of such organization who may formally announce their independence, but it is a fig leaf, sheep's clothes, so that they may continue to undermine Ukraine undisturbed? They are what they are, part and parcel of this Russian monstrosity. If Russia somehow wins and occupies Ukraine, they will happily discard all these pretenses, eagerly rename themselves into Russian Orthodox Church back again, sigh a big sigh of relief that they can at last reveal their true self, and afterwards you will really see what religious persecution look like. But they will be persecuting the real church, Orthodox Church of Ukraine, as they already do at the occupied territories. If you take all these into considerations, Ukraine and Ukrainians are showing completely unwarranted level of restraint towards this Russian Orthodox Church in Ukraine, whatever name they choose to disguise their true self. They pose real existential threat to my country and my people. Anyone who is speaking about religious intolerance in Ukraine should shut up immediately, and you should stop listening to all these Putin's hand puppets. Thank you for listening, thank you for your attention. Slava Ukraini, and Russia the land est!